Hey everyone, happy Halloween. This is Jasmine from New Paradigm Beings channel. I really hope y'all are having a wonderful Halloween, celebrating the Day of the Dead and honoring the return of some of our ancestors to this realm for a short period of time. It's a wonderful time to be, just right in the middle of the veil of the equinox and yeah, it's a really fun time. It's one of our favorite holidays in the esoteric communities. So I thought I'd bring you a treat today. I'm going to be talking about the sacredness of feminine menstruation. Okay. And please excuse any of the noise in the back. It is Halloween, so we probably have a couple kiddos coming around the neighborhood ringing the doorbell. And my parents are just getting home, so I'm in the wonderful musical studio, and excuse me. As you can see behind me, I have my tablecloth on the ground where I'm going to be doing a reading after this video. Okay. All right. So menstrual cycles. Everyone knows what a female's menstrual cycle entails. Once a month we bleed. We have, the cycles follow the moon. We have usually a 28-day to 32-day cycle for every woman. Um, and this is to, it's basically a shedding of old flesh and a renewing of the flesh. The uterus rebuilds her lining or sends nutrients and blood to her lining in hopes to fertilize an egg. And when that egg does not happen, the uterus dies off and it sheds through the vagina. Okay, some basics. We all know what a menstrual cycle is. But however, I would like to talk about a little bit more. We're gonna get a little bit deeper into just what a menstrual cycle is. It's not just a woman bleeds every once a month that she has to keep it quiet. This is the menstrual cycle is a part of all creation, including that for males. The rule is the same, and the menstrual cycles affect women and men. In the sense that men are our partners. Every man came from a woman. So I hope everyone will get a blessing out of this video. Will be a mixture of my personal, obviously it's so awesome to have your own menstrual cycle because then you can talk about it because you're the expert, right? You don't even have to be a doctor. I mean, as women, like we should be the most experienced when it comes to our menstrual cycle. Always, schedule your OB/GYN appointments, but the only person who can know the most about your cycle, your innerverse, is the women themselves. So I encourage us to dig deeper, if we haven't already, into this mystery that we think is the menstrual cycle. Okay. So we are in the month of October. Obviously, this is the last day. My menstruation for this period started on October 16th and ended on October 24th, the new moon. Now my cycles have been a little bit longer than they've kind of spread out longer this year. And I mean, we have had a lot of planetary synchronicities this year, and my period tends to follow those. I am a Cancer. Excuse me. My moon is in Capricorn, and I was born on a full moon. I also started my period on or around a full moon at age 9, and a lot of these details can affect how you bleed and how or when you bleed. When I had my full Kundalini awakening, or like however you want to call that, spiritual awakening, my period actually synced with the moon. And I knew for sure that I was bleeding on the full moon. So that's how my I may have had maybe one period. I remember like at one time I was always recording my periods for years, like over 4 or 5, 6 years now. Um, and before my Kundalini had gone up, my period had been on a new moon, and it switched all the way to full moon cycle, and I've been that way ever since. Um, so enough about that. Although I feel it was interesting, being born on a full moon. And I'll get into that later. Like, what does it mean to bleed on a full moon, and what does it mean to bleed on a new moon? Um, I feel it can, like being born on a full moon and having to grow up with the traits of someone who was born with all of their light facing with their entire with moon's entire body facing away from the sun. Um, it had a lot to do with my destiny and a lot to do with who I am today. So just to get right down to it, what is menstruation time for us, and what do I believe menstruation time is? I believe that menstruation time is a woman's right, or a young lady's right, to no contest. I believe it is our right to be able to withdraw from the ongoings of outward society, which is considered the masculine realm, to really withdraw and to go within and to experience that very private, very serene, very psychic, very tuned in goddess world that we are blessed with, that we incorporate. It's that one realm that it was basically only inhabitable by yourself and whoever you invite into that realm. It's not anything that someone is able to invade or conquer. It is a cycle of God and nature itself. So it is our no contest. We have the time to turn off our outward pouring of energy and excuse ourselves from the room to be in a private, sacred space. It is our downtime, and it is our within time. And you can observe this in every culture around the world, or every ancient culture around the world. Okay, where women are they come together, they go together during their menstrual time, and they have that power. They harness this power of this inward power, where they can go and commune and basically like do some awesome stuff with their intuition and their power. Just imagine the world, what the world will be like once we continue to reawaken to that right, that blessing that we have, not a curse, but this blessing that we have to bleed once a month. Sip of my blue moon. Hope I don't get cited for that, but pumpkin wheat and blue moon, one of the best beers of the season. Okay. So women are not, all things have the cycle of birth, life, and death. Okay? And women nor men are a stranger to that. We're all under the mercy of time and eternity. But what does it mean? Okay, in our menstruation, our women are so layered. You can basically look at us and see the entire universe and how it was intended to be, and how through our passing, our lining, we give birth. Excuse me. We give birth to the old cycle with the intention of growing a new one, starting a new one. So when you think of the death of the old cycle. And everything that you've gone through, thought, felt, worked on is being excremented from the body, the physical body, and even the conscience itself through the hormones and everything. Leaving the body so you can start anew. It's just like birthing and dying. And we also have that example of women are kind of like I almost equate women to the northern direction. Like we inhabit all those spaces in between that aren't really habitable. Like the space in between each breath. Or like when a baby comes into the world, it mimics the shedding of a lining, but except there's something that is being born. Someone even brought up, like, in jest that, well, maybe the light that we see when we die is just the light of, like, the hospital light when the baby comes out, or something funny like that. I don't know, it could be candlelight, or I believe it should be kind of dim and warm when women give birth. I don't think we should be under glaring lights. I feel that's treacherous and overstimulating. Yeah, so that's basically the menstrual cycle is death, living, or living, death, living, or birth, living, and then death in a microcosm. All right. So, this also represents the water that populates the earth. All things that have life have water. And the moon is the master of this water as we understand it from the tides. Okay, we can find cycles everywhere. They're everywhere. Excuse me. So being the water that populates the earth, like we are, like, again, with our womb being that representation, we release this water, we release this, we hold it in, and then we release it. I think that's part of, like, our having fluid retention and bloating has to do with, like you kind of have that final squeeze before you deflate, or you let that back out. And it's kind of a reminder, especially for people who go through the ritual of giving that back to the earth or giving their blood to the garden. It's a generous reminder on behalf of all humankind that we are here and as an honor to be on Mother Earth and an honor to be alive. It's almost like a built-in flesh offering. I consider it paying a tax. Like the period is almost like paying a tax for being incarnate. Being an incarnate being. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm not saying, I don't want people to get like a negative impression of me talking about taxes, but I almost feel like in a beautiful way, it's like we chose as women, like we chose to be born as women so we could pay the tax back to earth on behalf of humanity. We're all made of this water anyway, so naturally we tithe it back. Also, the menstrual blood is very nutritious. Not saying you have to drink it, but it is just something to know that the tissue and the blood are extremely nutritious, and they're very good for fertilization. And I don't know, maybe when we're more progressive one day, people might actually consider ingesting the blood when they are sick or dying or with something going on. I guarantee you the menstrual blood will probably end up working miracles. But until that day comes, it is just an idea, just a wild guess. Okay. Okay, I would like to mention that menstruation has much to do with acknowledging ancestral memory. It has a lot to do with acknowledging and integrating more of our ancestral memory. Why is that? Because it's the one thing we've done the same in every lifetime that we were women. It's the same that we have. It's the same thing we've done in every lifetime as women. Our mother's blood, our grandmother's blood, great grandmother's blood. Everyone who was able to, most of us were able to bleed, and so we take that power, we take that knowledge and those traditions, and we pass them down. This is I really do feel like this is a good support for or a good reference for learning about memory in our DNA memory. Having to go through the same blessings, the same cycles of menstruation as all of the women did before us, and then understanding that in within all of creation, whether they be dog, deer, or humankind. Okay. It's just so amazing to think about. It's like, wow, that this has connected to me, to all of my women, all of my four women, and all of my the ancient women that have come before me. It's amazing. It's amazing to think about that. I want to read, this is the ancestor card here on that note. The ancestor card from the Wildwood Tarot deck. She's a number 5. She does represent the female, the divine feminine ancestor, and all of the knowledge that this female goddess character has to remind humankind of, and what she has to say, what she has to pass on. So I would like to read, I want to go ahead and read the excerpt from the book and what this has to say, okay? All right. So, her position on the wheel, placed at the nexus point between the passing winter and the coming spring. The ancestor stands at Imbolc, which falls on the 1st of February. She is associated with the new moon and the elements of air and earth. The antlered figure of the ancestor is clad in reindeer skins and evergreen leaves and stands at the gateway to the wildwood, framed by silver birch trees, colored to the bone white of winter. Colored the bone white of winter. These trees grew during the Ice Age and are one of the first to generate in the spring. The reindeer once roamed vast tracts of forest, the true ancestors of our post-Ice Age oak woodlands, and it is known that they used the same trackways through the landscape. Thus, Ice Age hunters would follow their paths year upon year, hunting their major source of food, marking time by their regular and predictable migration. When reindeer retreated north with the melting ice, the white hart, glimpsed in the forest, replaced their older mythology. The ancestors' tracks also led into the wildwood. The morning star is clear and frosty with the first glimmer of dawn, shimmering on the horizon where the new moon hangs with the morning star, representing a new day and a reawakened soul. Meaning, the ancestor greets you and you walk up the path that leads to the forest. She is a creature of myth, half animal, half human, but carries the wand of wisdom and the drum that summons all who can hear to gather and watch the sun rise. The ancestor is blessed by the land and by the divine knowledge that flows from the stars. Her coat is of white winter fur and evergreen leaves. The gateway formed by the silver birch trees either side of the path marks the beginning of a new commitment and a point from which you cannot turn back. The trees act as a reminder to follow the path and know you are on a journey with a beginning and an end. The path is marked with the tracks that lead you onward. The moon signifies both an end and a beginning as Venus. The bright morning star shows the new dawn of hope. The woman, right? The ancestor is linked to the part of our soul that is most ancient and most closely related to the archetypes that represent nature. She is a guardian of the sacred heart of the land and summons you by beating the drum to the heartbeat of the earth. There is a part of you that unconsciously heard the drum and stirred the first desire to walk the path that is at work here. It is the overpowering strength and patience of nature. It is the awesome and relenting turning of that cycle that brings spring and warmth and an end to hibernation and the reawakening of abundant life. The ancestor stands before the gateway of nature that leads into the far forest. This is another beginning. Once you pass through the gateway, you must strive to stay on the path and see the journey through to the end. Reading points. You have made the leap and started a new cycle. Your instinctive spirit has felt it necessary to lead you to the gateway and a new path. You may have been reluctant or concerned at first, but whether you realize it or not, a shift has occurred. You may feel wary of the unknown denizens that await you in the forest, but the ancient ancestor within you will guide and reassure you as you relearn and greet new experiences on the path. Trust your inner voice. Listen to your own instinctive and inquisitive nature. Your own inner ancestor is strong, patient, and wise. Let them lead you into the forest with new eyes and a joyful heart. Ancient memory. The Pathfinder Guide, Ellen of the Ways, the spirit of nature in the subconscious human psyche, the call of the wild.